After a 2023 chock full of amazing day one additions to Game Pass, it seems almost greedy to ask for another one, right? Wrong, we know you're asking, so Benny and I are here to tell you all about what's coming up in 2024. First up, we're going to be talking about so many new games coming to Game Pass in 2024, so we think it's only fair that we start with the ones that have already announced their release dates. And that means starting with everyone's favourite renegade root vegetable, Turnip Boy. After committing a tax evasion in the original game, he's taking things up a notch for the sequel, aptly named Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. Wonder what's going to happen in that one. Coming day one to Game Pass on January 18th, this rutabaga roguelike will have players putting together a crew of criminal veggies to pull off a series of exhilarating heists.
On February 2nd, the Persona series will be back to steal our hearts all over again with Persona 3 Reload, just in time for Valentine's Day 2. This new version of the critically acclaimed third-person game essentially brings it up to speed with Persona 5 Royal. So those eye-watering anime graphics, the slick UI and smooth gameplay are all present and correct.
When Opal Devine and her teenage daughter Tess find a bunch of old letters in the attic, their stroll down memory lane quickly turns into a life-changing road trip. Open Roads is a narrative-driven game starring Kerry Russell, Caitlin Dever, and a lush hand-drawn art style. It promises, I believe, to be quite an adventure when it gets into gear on February 22nd.
If you love both the tranquil rhythm of farming sims and the feeling of immense power that comes from stomping around inside a big, clunky mech, then you're a truly complicated individual, and you deserve a game like Lightyear Frontier, which arrives in early access from next March.
Now an epic JRPG that has been quite literally years in the making, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes will make its highly anticipated debut on Game Pass on April 24th. Set in a war-torn world filled with magic and mystery, doesn't it always get filled with that? This turn-based adventure is a throwback to the golden age of JRPGs. And yes, it really does feature 100 different heroes for you to play as. Fun fact.
On April 26th, we'll all need to mind our manners with the historical strategy game Manor Lords. You'll be stepping into the shoes of a medieval lord and taking on all the responsibilities that come with that title, from managing resources and production chains to forging alliances through diplomacy, and when diplomacy fails, kicking some old-timey ass out on the battlefield.
Okay, now we're moving on to the games that we don't actually have a fixed date for just yet, but we'll update you when we do. 33 Immortals is a co-op roguelike where a whole mess of players get to go dungeon crawling together. 33 of them, in fact. With its fast-paced battles and instant matchmaking, playing 33 Immortals feels like diving right into the middle of an MMO raid every single time you pick it up, and is going to be available in early access from next year.
Game Pass gamers have got their hands on some stellar Souls-likes in recent years, from Liza P to Remnant 2, but you know what they all lacked? Crabs. Another Crab's Treasure fixes that. A third-person actioner that has players scuttling across the ocean floor as a courageous crustacean with a whole lot of enemies, learning all sorts of fishy fighting techniques along the way.
Now, this is the Ark series taking a giant evolutionary leap forward with its second game. Parkour your way through the prehistoric world with a limber new movement system, and then enjoy a meaty Souls-like new combat system that makes getting in a fistfight with a Velociraptor even more bleeding exciting. And if you want a little dino walloping practice in the meantime, you absolutely have to get the first game because it's available right now on Game Pass.
In the upcoming first-person RPG Avowed, you've been sent to a far-off part of Aurora. That's the fantasy realm from the Pillars of Deadfire games, available now on Game Pass to investigate a strange plague. With fire swords, ice axes, and magic guns on the go, Avowed mixes up melee combat with firearms and sorcery so that there are endless possible ways to take down your foes, and they all look pretty fun.
Okay, if you loved the genre-melding fun of the Persona games, consider a trip to the dungeons of Hinterberg in 2024. You're going to spend your day hanging out at the lodge and getting to know the locals, but then heading into the dungeons to combine melee moves with magical abilities to take down hordes and hordes of bad guys. Count me in.
There's a vast open world to explore and a whole lot of deities to whoop in Flintlock, the Siege of Dawn. Its third-person action combines huge heaps of gunpowder with a little sprinkling of magic dust to make for combat that's both explosive and enchanting. Plus, you get a weird little magical creature to hang out with. Who says no?
Forget everything you have ever heard about curiosity in cats, because Little Kitty Big City is all about guiding your feline friend through a colourful open world just to see what's going on, what's kicking about, who's who and who's what. As you poke your whiskers into every nook and cranny of your urban playground, you'll get to hang out with other animals, partake in quests to help them out, and unlock all sorts of charming cat-appropriate headwear. I'm calling it now, folks. This is going to be my game of the year.
Birds of a feather will be flying together in the multiplayer game Flock. Designed as an ode to the pure joy of flying, Flock will have players taking on the role of sky shepherds, guiding a crowd of airborne critters through the clouds. Your flock can even provide you with colourful wool to turn into cozy clothing that you can share with your friends. Aww.
I'm going to be honest with this one. Pixels have never looked as tasty as they do in magical Delicacy. This Metroidvania-ish cooking game lets you hop, skip and jump your way through a charming town as you embark on your quest to become a real witch. Gather all kinds of ingredients and then take them back to your crib to whip up magical dishes to enchant your customers with.
Do you ever see someone flying around without a care in the world in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2023 and think, get a job? Well then, you're going to love Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And also, capitalism has ruined you. As well as continuing the free-soaring fun that the series is famous for, the new edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator will allow players to take on a huge range of aerial jobs that range from fighting fires from the skies to giving out hot air balloon rides.
Now, as the name might suggest, Pigeon Simulator is a game in which you get to simulate being a pigeon. But I have to clarify, it's not just any old pigeon. Sent back in time to stop an awful goose from wrecking the world, the pigeon you'll be controlling can be genetically altered to give it all kinds of fun superpowers. Using them is a whole lot of fun too, thanks to the game's physics-based destruction.
Experience life as an AI trapped inside a human body, trapped inside a nightmarish cyberpunk city in Replaced. This action-packed action platformer features slick, fast-paced combat and a dark, gritty story about political corruption, organ trading, and how truly rubbish rich people can be. Its cinematic platforming will take you through environments that are just soaking in moody, noir vibes, and the pixel art visuals make it all grimly beautiful.
Oh, I cannot wait for this one. Hellblade 2 promises to bring the next exciting chapter in Senua's saga, and it looks like things won't be getting any easier for her in 2024. Fresh from battling her way through legions of demons, both literal and metaphorical, the second game in this third-person action-adventure series will see Senua heading to Iceland to take on a vicious tyrant. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 promises to take full advantage of the Xbox Series X and S hardware to make this chapter even more jaw-droppingly cinematic than it already is, so subscribe and ring that bell for all the latest information as soon as we get it.
Come 2024, players will finally get to return to the brutal, grey world of STALKER with Heart of Chornobyl. Yay! It might be kind of bleak, but this immersive open world is the perfect place to stage an epic dystopian FPS. With photorealistic visuals and seamless environments to explore, it's a dazzling place just to wander around, and an even better one to get into hectic firefights with legions of irradiated monsters. Legions.
Still Wakes the Deep is the latest first-person horror game from the creators of Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and my god does it look it. Explore a beautifully rendered, absolutely terrifying oil rig as you try to find out whether your crew is still alive, and just what that strange noise coming from the shadows might be. I'm not going to promise you're going to love the answer though.
Using fantastical weapons to beat the heck out of hideous monsters is always a good time, but doing it with your friends is even better, and that's why we're so stoked for Towerborne. In this side-scrolling action RPG, you and your buddies represent humanity's last hope after a calamity almost ends the world. The whole game has been designed with player choice in mind. Everything from your character's looks to their loadout to the game's danger level can be endlessly tweaked to create the exact experience that you're looking for.
Okay, right, it turns out there are actually so many games coming to Game Pass in 2024 that we're going to have a bit of a quick fire round through the rest. Are you ready? Strap yourself in. So, coming up first, combining top-down driving action with survival horror, the developers described Dead Static Drive as Grand Theft Cthulhu. And yeah, I personally can't do any better than that description. Up next, Botany Manor is a plant-based puzzle game that challenges players to find just the right growing conditions for the many different flowers found in a 19th century manor. Bounty Star is another mech-based farming game, although this one contains a lot more over-the-shoulder robot battling action than Lightyear Frontier did. And you can also try your hand at rewriting history in a grand strategy game starring the likes of George Washington and Sappho. I'm of course talking about Ara History Untold.
PC Game Pass members got to cut the ribbon on City Skylines 2 in 2023, and we'll be breaking out the oversized scissors once again in 2024 for the console edition. One of the most decorated series in the whole tactics genre, Commandos is coming back in 2024, with a blistering new prequel called Commandos Origins. Running a hospital is a challenging business, even when you're only dealing with the human body, but things get light years harder and much weirder in the spacey management sim Galacticare. If you enjoyed sailing between this world and the next in Spiritfarer, but would like to get a little cardio in next time, the open world cycling adventure Ghost Bike might just be the game for you. Harold Halibut is a lovingly handcrafted narrative game about a city-sized spaceship submerged in an alien ocean. Developed by Columbia's Studio Bando, Sopa is a 3D adventure which sees a young boy transported into a magical realm of floating mountains, endless deserts, and talking beasts. And that's just the Game Pass games we know about right now. Hit the comments to let us know which titles you're most looking forward to, and we'll see you next time.